So today we got a pretty interesting one, right? And some of you guys will be wondering, why are we producing this show? It is a reason that we're producing this show. Now, this morning I was just kind of combing through the internet and I came across a clip from Fox Sports Radio featuring the Odd Couple featuring Chris Broussard and Rob Parker. I like that duo, right? I think they do a great job. And they were on there, and essentially what they were doing was they were reacting to some comments that Pat Riley recently made. So I want to quickly read what he had to say. We're going to read from CBS Sports. Article starts off with the headline: Pat Riley says Lakers legend Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is the greatest player in NBA history. He will always be the guy. LeBron James is closing in on the NBA scoring title currently held by Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. At his current pace, James would be set to surpass Abdul-Jabbar's mark of 38,387 career points on February 7 at home versus the Thunder. For most, this record doesn't make a difference in the GOAT debate. If you think James is the greatest player ever, you have likely already come to the conclusion. If you don't, a few more points aren't going to change your mind. To that point, Pat Riley, who signed James to the Miami Heat and coached Abdul-Jabbar with the Lakers, winning multiple titles of both, revealed in a recent interview with ESPN Ramona Shelburne that Abdul-Jabbar will always be the greatest player in his mind. He said to ESPN, "I always said that Kareem was the greatest player of all time because of his longevity," Riley recalled. Kareem was unique from the standpoint that he could play at a high level, play 80 games a year, get beat up and doubled and triple team, and guys just taking shots at him. He just developed this mental toughness along with a great physical body to really last forever. We don't win championships without the greatest player in history of the game, who had the greatest weapon in the history of the game, Riley added. The skyhook was unstoppable. Last minute of the game, it's going to go to one guy. Kareem was the guy, and he'll always be the guy. So those are the comments that Chris Broussard and Rob Parker are reacting to. So what we want to do is we want to play exactly what they had to say in response to Pat Riley's comments, and then we're going to come back and react to it. Take a listen to that.
What?
I was going to say, Chris, that's why Pat Riley, hello, is this on? Because your argument for Kareem is the most illogical and ridiculous thing I've ever heard. For such a guy who's such a great coach, and I have nothing but respect. I tell you all the time. I quote Pat Riley all the time. Either you're in or you're out, right, Chris? Right, I talk about him all the time. The job he did with the New York Knicks was unbelievable. It really was, that he got that team without any stars other than Patrick Ewing to the NBA Finals. He's a tremendous coach, but he's illogical when he makes this statement. I get it. You adore Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He's a friend of yours, but it doesn't make any sense. A, why the hell did you retire Michael Jordan's number with the Miami Heat if you didn't believe he was the greatest player ever played? That doesn't even make any sense. Right. And number two, if you're using the longevity argument, LeBron James would be the greatest player of all time because of his numbers and how long he's been able to play at a high level. So absolutely, Kareem would fall out of both categories, Chris. It makes no sense by Pat Riley.
And look, Riley, and like you said, we both have nothing but respect for him.
I respect Pat Riley.
Coach. Right. But, Rob, like you said, he's given indications. I would bet at some point he said Michael Jordan was the greatest ever. Like you said, they retired his jersey in Miami, which I still think is kind of ridiculous.
Chris, that was the most ludicrous thing I've ever seen.
I don't agree with that.
He didn't play there. It wasn't like, it would be different if he had like the Jackie Robinson and the whole league retired 23 because Michael did something that nobody possibly could ever do. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
But
and
for
Jackie's
Miami
was,
to do it,
you know, social significance and all that too. Right. Yeah. And then, Rob, I know when LeBron was in Miami, that Riley used to call LeBron the GOAT, best of all time. So now he's saying it's Kareem. But I'm with you. It doesn't make sense. What it sounds like, Rob, is trying to just play both sides at least. So with this, Rob, here's what I'll say about the longevity argument. That is not how we judge the greatest players of all time. And I don't think that's how we should judge the greatest players of all time. So when LeBron passes Kareem, it won't mean he's better than Michael Jordan because he's got the scoring record. I mean, if that were the case, Karl Malone would be better than Michael Jordan.
And Chris, no one ever mentioned Karl Malone.
Third now.
When was the last time Karl Malone was mentioned as the greatest player?
Rob, Larry Bird is like ranked, I don't know, 20 something. He's really low in terms of all-time points, but he's a top 10 player of all time. It's not just about that in the NBA. But what I'll say is this, Rob, and this is, I believe the greatest players of all time in their respective sports or even at their positions, it is more about your peak and how high and your peak was, assuming you have a legitimate length career. Like, you can't play for 4 years and have a 4-year peak that was ridiculous and we're going to call you the GOAT, right? You have to have had a legitimate career, 10, 12 years or something like that. And if your peak was, higher than everyone else's, I think that's how we tend to judge the GOAT.
So you heard what they had to say. Now, in light of seeing this particular show, I'm talking about what they had to say there. We actually put up a few polls on the channel here. And here are some of the polls that we put up. We put in one of the polls we had just about an hour ago, who had the higher peaks in their career, Michael Jordan or LeBron James? Of course, some LeBron James got in their feelings as usual, these people. And 88% said Jordan, 12% said LeBron, because to them, we hating. It just can't mean that people think that they hating. Another one we put up is Larry Bird versus Magic Johnson. 68% voted Magic Johnson. We did Stephen Curry versus Isaiah Thomas. 88% gave it to Stephen Curry. We did Kawhi versus Durant. 81% gave it to Durant. And we did Kobe Bryant versus LeBron James. 64% gave it to Kobe, to 36 to LeBron. And these polls are still very young, so you guys can go out there and still vote on it and cast your vote and let us know what you think. Now, here are my thoughts. I think what Rob Parker and Chris Broussard said is absolutely the truth. What we're getting right now is we're trying to reframe the argument. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to reframe the argument. We're now looking for the next thing to hold on to now say this is it. And now the new thing is longevity. When championships didn't work, when overall excellence didn't work, we're now reaching for longevity. It's just the next thing. What I like about what they said, however, is the fact that that is not the way we determine who the best player was. We look at the peaks. And I think that's a very good way to look at it. And as well as you look at the accomplishments and all of this. I don't know what the issue is here with some people just like, I just don't get it. Why can't you just let things be what it is? Like, why are we still trying to knock Jordan off his pedestal, man? Like, let's just let it go. Like, let it go, man. Let it go. Now, to their point where they said that if longevity is the stat, then he said, then you could be working against your own argument, because when LeBron passes Kareem in points, you're not going to turn around and say that LeBron is the greatest player ever. So that's why this whole thing about points and longevity is not a very good argument. And that's the reason why they're pushing back on that. Now, both of those gentlemen have Michael Jordan as the greatest player of all time, and they have LeBron number 2. I know Chris does. I'm not sure if Rob Parker does. Maybe he does. I don't know exactly why. Maybe if you ever get a chance to sit down or find an audio of them, they'll explain why. But I think they made some good points that the longevity argument is not enough to determine who the greatest player of all time is. So my question to you guys is, what do you think about what they had to say? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section, and we'll catch you guys on the next show.